What's the most disturbing piece of audio there is? I'd venture that the Toolbox Killer's audio recording of them torturing and raping Shirley Ledford is probably pretty high up on the list. It has never been released to the public, or leaked, but there does exist the full transcript online. This one is accompanied by video, but the reaction of a man whose wife gets killed when a brick flies off the back of a truck they were driving behind on a highway and came through their windshield. The audio was captured by their dash cam, one of those things you can unhear. The 911 call from the attack of Travis the chimpanzee. Travis' screams can be heard in the background at the start of the tape as Harold, owner of Travis, pleads for the police, who initially believed the call to be a hoax until she said, "He's eating her." Jared from Subway talking about how he likes kids who come from bad homes because they are easier to manipulate into having sex. Don't listen to it. By all accounts, it's the Norris and Binnicker tapes, otherwise known as the Toolbox Killers. I've seen a transcript. Deeply unpleasant stuff. The one where these two teens go into this guy's basement and without them knowing he's waiting down there with his gun and shoots both of them and can hear the guy say something right before he shoots girl as she's trying to go back up the stairs. I can't remember all what happened, but that was pretty chilling. Maybe someone here knows what I'm talking about. The 911 call of the lady stuck in her car in a flood and the operator is so unhelpful, she ends up drowning on the other end of the phone. Perhaps not the worst, but still haunting. The Mayday call from MS Estonia and the following radio traffic at sea. After the first couple of conversations, Estonia is quiet. The first ship reaches a destination less than 20 minutes later, but the Estonia is just gone. I'd imagine the tape of 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downey's rape and murder made by the Moors murderers would be a contender. It's never been released thankfully, though I've seen plenty of interviews with the policemen who had to listen to tape and you can just see on their faces how much it affected them. The 911 call about Travis, maybe that's his name, the chimpanzee murdering and eating the owner's friend's face. For me personally, it's audio and video. It's a grandmother who killed her son-in-law. And for some reason the police bring in the woman's young granddaughter, daughter of the victim. And the grandmother is insane and asks for a hug and the little girl screams, "No, you killed me, Daddy." I honestly have no idea why the police brought in the girl, it's horrible. The 911 call from one of the teachers present at the Columbine school shooting. You can hear the gunshots and the gunmen cheering and whooping. You also hear when they enter the library, which is where they killed the most students. It's chilling. Worst that I've heard personally was the Daniel Pearl video. That was so long ago, but it still bothers me. Not necessarily disturbing, but definitely sad is the voicemail that Brian Sweeney left his wife on 9/11 from United Flight 175. The phobe calls from Flight 93. There's audio of an astronaut burning up in the atmosphere. I don't recall if it was an American mission or a Russian one. There's tapes from the serial killer, the Toy Box Killer. If I recall correctly, one of the techs on that case died by suicide after she processed those tapes. The Swedish Rhapsody Numbers station, where a child resembling automatic voice reads numbers in German, most likely established to send coded messages to intelligence agents in the Western Bloc. Footage can be found on YouTube. Betty Barney Hill's recount of their alien abduction experience under hypnosis. The visceral terror in Barney's voice is just too real, and the play-by-play of the entire ordeal is very eerie. The Ruth Price 911 call where she's this old woman living alone in her apartment when some stranger keeps trying to get in. He eventually doesn't and she can be heard screaming for her life. I think he was stabbing her. Fortunately, she survived and lived another 14 years. Pretty sure it was used to train dispatch in the past for how horrific the audio is. I'd say the recordings that the Moors murders made when torturing children. I pray to God that those recordings never make it into the public. This isn't like the rest on this post, but Oppenheimer's "We Knew the World Would Not Be the Same" always gets me when you consider what it's about. The 911 call from the Columbine shooting when the shooters take the phone and leave it connected to dispatch the whole time. The video in which a brick falls from a truck and hits a woman in the head with all her family besides her in the car. You don't actually see anything, but the screams, they're terrifying. I was gonna Oppenheimer's Destroyer of Worlds speech, but all these other deaths and murders sound a million times worse. Most disturbing one I've heard is the finale of the Caretaker's 6th album Behemoth Everywhere at the End of Time. It's a project that explores the stages of dementia through ballroom music. The project as a whole, but the last album especially, shook me to my core. Army of Aztec Death Whistles. X200B. If you watch search on YouTube of One Blowing One, it's in the shape of a skull pretty much always and sounds terrifying. Imagine you're some Spanish conquistador hearing an army that sounds like that, getting louder, getting closer, coming to kill you. There is an audio recording of the torture and murder of a woman by the serial killer Lawrence Bittaker, the toolbox killer that is used by the FBI to desensitize agents to the realities of their work. It was played in court at his trial and apparently is heart-rending. The woman is begging for her life. You can hear your bones being broken by the hammer he was using, and I'm laughing. Toolbox killer's audio of them raping and torturing some random girl they picked up. I believe they make FBI profilers listen to it. I am honestly disturbed by the number stations lol. They aren't horrifying. But they're so creepy. The 911 call of Loretta Pickard, a disabled elderly woman who died in a house fire. She was physically unable to get out of the house on her own. There were firefighters outside her house, but due to miscommunication, they thought the house was empty. On the call, you hear the woman talking as the fire gets worse and she gets closer to death. Audio from the brick flying through the windshield instantly killing the wife of the driver haunts my brain. I just watched a video from Russia where some soldiers cut the throat of another soldier for being what they say is a traitor. The screams. I had heard it on Reddit, but there was some rocket ship that was taking off where a fire broke out inside the cabin and you can hear the astronauts screaming as the fire burned them alive. I'm on my cell right now, otherwise I'd link it. But pretty intense. Brady and Heinley, infamous child killers, recorded some of their act. Can't think of much worse than this. The 911 calls made on 9/11 from the people who were in the towers and knew their fate without being able to do anything about it. The calls from people in the Twin Towers who were on the phone as it collapsed were pretty disturbing. The Jonestown recordings. Hundreds of people that realize they don't want to die when it's too late. A while ago there was a creepypasta about an oil drill that accidentally drilled into hell. And in the story the workers sent a probe down to record. Someone made audio for it and it was in a game played by Markiplier in a 3 Scary Games video. As a religious person the sounds are genuinely disturbing, and as a horror fan I love it. These cover many of them pretty well. Disturbing sounds. I heard this recording of an exorcism performed in a Russian Orthodox church. Some of the screams were pretty horrific. Turn on subtitles. I forget the name, but there is audio of a pilot who was flying late at night through lots of fog. You can hear him describe an unusual object with bright lights in front of him. Then the audio ends abruptly and the plane he was flying disappeared. Probably the entire soundtrack of Sad Satan filled with audios of serial killers, distorted audios and more. While the woman moaning or gurgling on her own blood while men chopped her in pieces. It's a video though so but I didn't watch it cause it's too fucked up. HHKKHK. Kinda surprised I haven't found anyone else say it. The footage of that cop slowly dying in his vehicle. Routine stop, watch the guy shoot the cop, then all you can hear is the sound of the cop calling for help and slowly dying. An audio of a girl being violently beaten with tools and raped by 3 guys in a van, right before unaliving her. It is so heartbreaking, you can hear the tools rattling, and her cries and pleas. I had to turn it off only a few seconds and heard it through a podcast that talked about her case. I'm getting tears in my eyes just remembering those seconds.